Hi, I hear you saying to yourselves and your kids that good is the right way to go, but tell me, when your home is destroyed in a superhero melee, will good be there to help you rebuild?
Hi, I'm Compensated Endorser Cloak Number 1, and I'm here to talk to you today about evil. Sure, we all love good, but some days you want revenge rather than forgiveness. Some days you want to be greedy rather than charitable. Not only does evil make those feelings okay, it actively encourages them.
Some examples of those who have accomplished great things with evil include Donald Sterling, the creators of reverse mortgages, and, as always, the E-Network.
So the next time you've got a choice to make, why not make it an evil choice? Enjoy the show. In fact, why not enjoy it a lot more by screwing the Last Angry Geek out of some money? There are these things called ad block. I don't care who he knows, he's finished, I'll never work again. Oh. Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, The Last Angry Geek. You know, for a while now I've been reviewing new books, taking on single or two issues of new titles, so you guys have an idea of what's happening out there in the world of comics. But just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. But you know. Today we're taking on a 7-issue event title from DC Comics called Forever Evil.
Issue 1 opens with Lex Luthor relating a story about trying to save his sister's cat when it climbed up a tree. The animal scratched him, so he ended up drowning it. He couldn't understand why it attacked him, he was only trying to save it. We then see Luthor in a helicopter. He's offering to buy Thomas Cord's company for twice its worth in cash. When Thomas insists the family business isn't for sale, Luthor threatens to throw him out of the copter, have his son turned into a junkie, and his wife driven to suicide. Before Cord can react, the city loses its power and the copter crashes. Lex awakens and all electronic media now reads, "The world is ours." The robot Grid is taking control of worldwide power and communications. Nightwing is in Gotham City taking serial killer Zsasz back to Arkham Asylum when they lose power. A mysterious woman arrives at the asylum and rips its doors off. He's then attacked and taken by a man with glowing eyes. Luthor sees Cord hanging from the copter's tail but refuses to help him as he sees Superman coming towards them. But whoever it is, it barrels into the building, sending Cord to his death. The mysterious figure then breaks open a vault and pulls out a chunk of kryptonite. In Central City, the rogues are attempting to bust the trickster out of prison. An electrified red streak flies past them, breaking open the prison walls. Along with a miniature woman, he kills one of the guards. Captain Cold is sure that whoever it is, it's not the Flash. In Louisiana, Amanda Waller is trying to recruit Black Manta into the Suicide Squad when the roof is literally blown off by two men, one of whom has a burning skull for a head. Luthor sees not Superman crush, vaporize, and inhale the kryptonite. Energized, Ultraman orders Grid to locate more kryptonite for him. In Arkham Asylum, the Scarecrow hands out coins with a reversed Earth stamped on them. They're communication devices that direct them to the recently crashed Justice League satellite. An army of supervillains stands assembled before this strange Justice League. They throw down Aquaman's trident, Wonder Woman's lasso, and Superman's cape. The world is theirs, and the Justice League is dead. Owlman, Superwoman, Power Ring, Deathstorm, Johnny Quick, Atomica, Grid, and Ultraman. The Crime Syndicate.
Wondering just who the hell the Crime Syndicate is? How they overthrew and imprisoned the Justice League? I'll bet you are.
Minor villain Monocle believes this is a trap. They're only a disguised Justice League, but he's quickly burned to ashes. They haul Nightwing on stage and before a worldwide broadcast, unmask him as Richard Grayson. Everyone Richard knows and loves will be hunted down and destroyed by the Syndicate. This will be the fate of anyone who opposes them. Everyone they love will die. Sending out the villains as their enforcers, Ultraman is stung by sunlight and moves the moon in front of the sun. Even Lex Luthor realizes this is a job for Superman. So where is he? In issue 2, Luthor heads into the basement of LexCorp. He finds one of his security guards alive, and they head further into his complex.
Oh boy. I tell you something, I'm sure glad I ran into you, Mr. Luthor. Now, some of you anonymous security guards might get a little nervous traveling through such a sinister setting with one of the main characters. A real red shirt situation, if you will. But I know a gentleman such as yourself would never allow a low-class working man the audience has just been introduced to suffer any harm.
The Teen Titans are heading to the fallen satellite. Red Robin wants to rescue Nightwing, but the other Titans aren't sure they'll pose much of a challenge to the crime syndicate. As the syndicate discusses how to control this new Earth, Johnny Quick gets bored and takes his girlfriend Atomica for some fun. Power Ring complains the ring doesn't feel good. Deathstorm sees a green energy in his veins and tells Power Ring to give it another week before they try to remove it. Grid, composed of Justice League member Cyborg's machine parts, is satisfied at separating from Victor Stone, while Ultraman visits Alfred and the Syndicate's prisoner. Owlman thinks they should kill him, but something chased the Syndicate off their Earth, and they might need the prisoner to fight it off should it follow them here. Superwoman also thinks the prisoner should die, but in exchange for keeping Dick Grayson alive, Owlman backs off. As Ultraman heads to Kahndaq, Superwoman knows he can hear the heartbeat. She wants this planet for their baby. In LexCorp's basement, Lex and Otis the security guard find a chamber marked B0. As Johnny and Atomica attack a police force, the Teen Titans intercede, saving the officers' lives. Lex once got his hand on a drop of Kryptonian blood and created this clone, one that would need 10 years to perfectly grow. With the power cut, it's dying anyway. Luthor releases it, and a freaked-out Otis draws his gun. Lex introduces himself as the creature's creator and orders him to kill Otis. The creature doesn't seem to understand and shrugs off a bullet. When Otis draws on Luthor, however, the creature springs to life and pops his head off. Johnny Quick grabs Kid Flash, and recognizing his vibrational frequencies are off, he vibrates Kid Flash and creates a time storm that pulls the Titans into the future.
Wondering what the hell happened to the Teen Titans? I'll bet you are.
Suited up, Lex Luthor and Bizarro are ready. In Detroit, at Star Labs, Dr. Stone and his associate ready a laser cannon. Star Labs protects some of the most dangerous technology on Earth. The door to the labs cracks open, and in comes Batman and Catwoman, carrying the human half of Cyborg. He'll need his father's help to survive, but the rest of the Justice League didn't make it. Issue 3 opens with Batman explaining the League went down when Grid separated from Cyborg, and Atomica, posing as the Atom, put a sliver of kryptonite in Superman's brain. Deathstorm then attacked Firestorm, and while Batman was saving Vic's life, the rest of the Justice League were trapped in the nuclear hero, who is now missing. Dr. Stone's associate, Tom Morrow, theorizes that so many personalities could overload Firestorm and lead to his detonation. Batman then sees Dick's identification being broadcast and makes up his mind to rescue his friend. Lex ponders that he always warned the world that putting their trust in Superman would be their downfall. Eventually he would fail them and they'd be ill-prepared for whatever challenge came their way. The clone, okay, we all know it's Bizarro, but so far no one's called it that, offers Lex a pretty flower. Lex wants Bizarro to lift up a satellite dish so he can track the crime syndicate with a secret array of LexCorp satellites. Bizarro only does as he's told after Lex takes the flower. He finds Ultraman in a brutal fight with Black Adam. Ultraman crushes his jaw so he cannot say his magic word and bring down the lightning. He tosses Adam into the sea, but realizes he's bleeding. Luthor realizes that Ultraman is staying in the Eclipse's shadow. Deathstorm and Power Ring confront the rogues who've refused to level Central City because it's full of schools and hospitals. The paranoid Power Ring believes the rogues are going to kill him and opens fire. Cold freezes the ring, and for a brief moment the pain isn't so bad before the ring bursts out, calling Power Ring an idiot. Deathstorm grabs Cold, untangling his DNA so he's no longer able to generate cold from his body. The rogues escape into one of Mirror Master's portals as Power Ring shatters it. Only Captain Cold is thrown free. Mirror Master reaches him through a reflection. The rest of them are trapped, and Cold needs to rebuild his freeze gun. The crime syndicate is nowhere to be seen, but Mirror Master has located Luthor and Bizarro.
Wondering what the hell happened to the rogues? Okay, look, this isn't funny anymore. Just assume that any questions you have about characters in this miniseries are not going to be answered.
Black Manta rises out of the water with the nearly drowned Black Adam. The syndicate robbed him of the chance to kill Aquaman. He'll make them pay for that. Captain Cold arrives, knowing that Luthor would also refuse to bow to the Syndicate. The crime syndicate will ruin the Earth, but Luthor realizes his ad hoc team might just be able to do something about that. Issue 4 opens with a blindfolded Catwoman being led into the Batcave. He's a bit apologetic about his computers and vehicles being down. She doesn't care about that, she cares about him. She wants to be close to Batman, but that's what happened to Nightwing, and his life is now ruined. Batman is not proud of this, but he shows Catwoman his anti-Justice League kit. From kryptonite to Sinestro core rings to lightning rods to a mother box. Things that now must be used against the crime syndicate. Captain Cold has reassembled his cold gun, and Black Adam is awake. Each member of the syndicate has a weakness, such as Ultraman's need to consume kryptonite. We then see Metallo attacking the army when Ultraman arrives. He rips out Metallo's kryptonite and quickly consumes it as Superwoman arrives. She thinks him weak, but he assures her he's strong enough to take on the creature that destroyed their world. Ultraman knows she's pregnant, but Superwoman knows that Owlman is trying to turn Dick Grayson into his new partner. She tells Ultraman they need this world to be safe for their child.
Hi there, I'm the Last Angry Geek, and this alternate universe Lois Lane is knocked up, so now it's time to play Who's Superwoman's Baby Daddy? Is it this man, Owlman, a psychotic Thomas Wayne from an alternate universe? Or this man, Ultraman, an evil Kryptonian with a substance abuse problem? Or this man, Linkara, snappy dresser and proponent for magic gun rights? The answer? None of the above! The real baby daddy of Superwoman's child is, you guessed it, Vince McMahon! But thanks for playing!
With the power ring demanding a recharge, Ultraman orders Deathstorm to the Justice League's lab so he can learn how Firestorm transmuted elements into kryptonite. Power Ring begs Deathstorm, and then Grid to help him against the Rogues. Grid sends him help while continuing to monitor Batman and Catwoman. As Team Luthor travels through the sewers, we learn Bizarro is afraid of the dark. Although he attempts to leave the clone, Lex can't. He tells Bizarro how his sister was terminally ill. He could have tried to save her, but didn't. He was afraid to fail. When she died, he would never be afraid to fail again. The clone speaks, calling itself Bizarro, and says it will try. They break into Wayne Enterprises only to find Batman and Catwoman already there. Batman is there to find a way to activate the Mother Box Boom Tomb teleporter. Cold wonders if the rest of the Justice League is alive, but Luthor is positive Superman is dead. However, before things escalate, Power Ring arrives with the Society, Deathstroke, Blockbuster, Copperhead, Giganta, and Shadow Thief. Batman slips on the Sinestro core ring. He unleashes a yellow bat, but his inexperience shows as Power Ring's snake devours the bat. He takes and destroys the yellow ring, however he is immediately knocked down. Sinestro has arrived. Power Ring frantically escapes into the sewers. As Team Luthor takes on the Secret Society, Lex saves Batman from Copperhead. With Sinestro closing in, the Power Ring calls its wielder a coward and orders him to recharge. PR then wishes himself to be the most powerful of them all and goes for Sinestro's throat. Black Adam makes short work of Giganta, Manta disintegrates Shadow Thief, but Deathstroke draws a gun on Luthor, criticizing his lack of a helmet. Lex points out that a world full of mercenaries is bad for business, and Deathstroke blows Copperhead's brains out. Sinestro realizes that while Power Ring may look like Hal Jordan, he is in fact an inferior copy, and cuts off his arm. The ring flies away to find a new host. Finally relieved of his burden, Power Ring thanks Sinestro, who promptly incinerates the Syndicate member. Bizarro finishes off Blockbuster, ending the supervillain showdown. In the Batcave, Superwoman, Ultraman, and Owlman discover that Batman has absconded with his kryptonite ring. Grid contacts them to relay news of Power Ring's death, and more importantly, when the ring left his body, it set off a pulse of energy that could be used by their adversary to track them to this new Earth. Batman argues with Team Luthor. Although they all want the Crime Syndicate dead, Batman is unwilling to kill. Sinestro points out it's too late. Power Ring is dead. Sinestro criticizes Hal Jordan for not being on Earth, but trying to lead the Green Lantern Corps instead, and Lex butters him up enough that he agrees to stay and help. Batman puts his foot down. First they rescue Dick, then they take down the Syndicate, and he's in charge. Catwoman tries to let him down gently. The Crime Syndicate gathers in Maine. Across the sky, a rip in the fabric of space and time has formed. Their enemy has found them. Outside the satellite, Luthor goads Batman about how he was right. There was no example of extraterrestrial incursion until the League showed up, and when they needed them most, they were infiltrated and destroyed. Ultraman wants Deathstorm to seal the rift. It's possible, but only if Deathstorm absorbs a monumental amount of life force. Evil Alfred contacts Owlman and tells him to return to base. The Crime Syndicate has done something to Dick. Aboard the satellite, Sinestro only detects 6 heartbeats to the far north and 2 still on board. They realize they've yet to meet one of the interdimensional transients. Batman, Bizarro, Catwoman, and Luthor split off from the rest of the team and discovered Nightwing, now encased in a piece of Apocalypse technology. The Murder Machine.
You know, you have to hand it to Darkseid. For such a terrible place as Apocalypse, a lot of the things that come out of there have really jolly names. The Murder Machine. I mean, It sounds like one of those carnival rides that just spins you around until you barf. I half suspect Jack Kirby was just messing with us when he invented the fourth world.
Owlman orders Alfred to protect Dick, but he disobeys. Thomas Wayne, Owlman's real name, will lose everything if the prisoner escapes. However, Black Manta is waiting and he brutally stabs the albino butler to death. Luthor realizes Dick's hooked up to a bomb just as the Syndicate arrives attacking the supervillains. The bomb is counting down and will only stop if Dick's heart does. Cold and Manta unmask the prisoner and take the tape off his mouth as Johnny Quick and Atomica arrive. Grayson tries to get Batman to leave, but he won't abandon his former partner. Luthor then blasts Batman and, with Bizarro stopping Catwoman, smothers Nightwing. While Quick lets Cold know that he killed his doppelganger on their original world. But he was just a cop, not a villain with a freeze gun. Captain Cold points out it's a cold gun.
Cold gun. Tell your friends. That's so Johnny Snow. I just think you need time to know that I'm the guy.
He then reveals he's built in a voice trigger and freezes one of Johnny Quick's knees before smashing it to fragments of ice. Atomica realizes they've ungagged the prisoner, who shouts, "Mazas!" A bolt of lightning separates Black Adam and Ultraman, who realizes that the appearance of the Dark Lightning means the prisoner is free. With Nightwing flatlining, an enraged Batman pummels Luthor. The prisoner snaps Johnny Quick's neck, absorbing his speed powers. Cold and Manta are introduced to their prisoner, Alexander Luthor. He's going to kill every member of the crime syndicate and become the most powerful hero on Earth. As Lex Luthor's armor shocks Batman off him, Alexander, finding out that Cold and Manta are just human with no inborn powers, flies out of the satellite. Lex had to make Dick flatline to shut down the murder machine, but he did so after feeding him a pill meant to paralyze cardiac muscles. One injection of adrenaline causes his heart to restart. Dick Grayson is alive.
Long live Dick! Okay, that's going to follow me around the rest of my life.
Batman helps Nightwing out of the machine, giving him a hug. The confused Bizarro tries to emulate them and gives his bald Pop-Pop a good squeeze. A then-destroyed Grid rolls through the door. Cyborg is back. He knows the Justice League is trapped inside Firestorm, so he's the next target. Lex and Bizarro take on the Syndicate, but not before he wishes Batman luck. However, the Dark Knight is so distracted he doesn't realize Lex just palmed his kryptonite ring. Ultraman and Deathstorm confer. Superwoman's lasso of submission might be just enough to get Alexander back under their control, except she's not with the Syndicate anymore. She's with her real baby daddy, Alexander. Cyborg explains that the Martian Manhunter, trapped in Firestorm, telepathically contacted Steve Trevor. He told Steve to use Wonder Woman's lasso, and their emotional connection would free the League from Firestorm. However, Steve was knocked out and is unavailable. Alexander promises to kill Ultraman and the being that destroyed their previous world. Ultraman goes to gouge his eyes out, but Alex channels the power he's stolen from his victims and beats him down. Superwoman lassos Deathstorm and Alexander crushes his skull, gaining his nuclear power. Meanwhile, Firestorm is about to detonate. Batman takes a lasso. He's known Wonder Woman for years, so their connection will suffice, although Catwoman's suspicious that that's all it is. But they're interrupted when Owlman arrives. He's come for Dick.
I take it back. That's going to follow me around for the rest of my life.
Alexander makes short work of the supervillains as Captain Cold fills Lex in on what's happened. Bizarro attacks, but Alexander decides he wants the clone's powers and kills him. A grief-stricken Lex promises to fix Bizarro, but the clone knows it's too late and dies. Cold tells him to forget it was only a monster. But he was my monster. Lex has a plan. Black Adam will use his magic lightning to depower Alexander. Sinestro can heal his jaw long enough for him to speak. Lex gives Sinestro the lightning rod from the future. It can redirect Black Adam's lightning into Alexander. Before disappearing with a smoke bomb, Owlman tells Dick he hopes they win. He still wants him and Nightwing to be partners. Sinestro impales Alexander on the rod and Adam calls down the lightning. It zaps Superwoman, Sinestro, and Black Adam, but seems to have no effect on Alexander, who recognizes Lex as his inferior double. But Lex realizes they sound the same and speaks Mazas, and the dark lightning strikes Alexander. Lex quickly guts his doppelganger before being taken down by Ultraman. He tries a solar cannon, but Ultraman destroys it. However, sunlight shines down thanks to Sinestro and Black Adam, moving the moon back into its orbit. The lasso of truth does its job, freeing the Justice League from Firestorm. Lex Luthor taunts Ultraman. He and Alexander thought they were strong, but their powers were actually their greatest weakness. He leaves Ultraman weak and powerless, but takes the time to step on Atomica, who's just crawled out of the rubble. Superman is dying. The kryptonite sliver in his head is still there, but that's okay. Lex Luthor is here to save the day. Later, Team Luthor is offered presidential pardons for their part in saving the world, but most of them laugh and leave. Batman tells Catwoman this is a great opportunity for her, But when he rejects a more personal relationship, she takes off.
Alright, issue 1 of the DCNU Catwoman infamously ended with her having sex with Batman on a rooftop. But no, her not being a criminal? It could never work between them, no.
Elsewhere, with his public identity exposed, Batman now has a new mission for Dick Grayson. While cutting a check for Deathstroke, Thomas Cord's son, Ted, arrives and meets with Lex. Ted's still in school, and if Lex wants to buy Cord Industries, he'll sell. Luthor tells him he can't take the family business away from him. That's not what his father wanted. Anyway, he's a great inventor, and if he needs help running things, Lex will be happy to give him some advice. Ted says the rumors are true. Lex is one of the good guys. The League wonders just what destroyed the Syndicate's world. Owlman is still missing, Ultraman is a broken mess, and Superwoman won't talk. She's just happy that her baby is kicking. Luthor begins a second cloning project, but tells the science team that this one will be birthed like the last one, when it's 5 years old. He then reveals the story he told Bizarro was a lie. He did try to cure his sister, but failed, leaving her an invalid. However, failure taught him to succeed. Just as Dick Grayson's second life as Nightwing teaches Lex Luthor, Bruce Wayne is Batman. Superman knows that there's only one creature powerful enough to destroy the Syndicate's world, the very monster that brought the Justice League together in the first place, Darkseid. On the Syndicate's ruined world, two people talk. The one we don't see tells his cohort that he's consumed all the power this world has to offer, but that he will find him another world to consume. The Anti-Monitor is pleased. After that, Darkseid is his.
Let me get this straight. So an Eater of Worlds is being led around to planets to consume by another subordinate entity? Keep pushing those boundaries, DC. Yeah, no one ever thought of that. Okay, well that's Forever Evil, and given the delay between issues 6 and 7, it certainly felt like forever to a lot of us. But was this story too long and too dark, or has evil never felt so good? Let's take a closer look.
First off, the elephant in the room. Issue 7 came out 2 months after issue 6. This completely killed the momentum of the series. Things got so screwed up that the final issue of Justice League of America came out after the first 2 issues of its successor series, Justice League United. Each week I'd go to my comic book store and see the DC Universe moving forward with no resolution to this game-changing storyline. As for the story itself, there's a lot of things that went unanswered or unexplained. You really have to have been reading the Justice League crossover story Trinity War, which preceded this title, to understand how we got here. But for some reason the story was never referenced, and if you just jumped into Forever Evil blind, you'd really have no idea what was going on in the first issue. A little recap can go a long way, guys. The book suffers from what I call BES, or Bendis Event Syndrome. Whenever Bendis would write an event over at Marvel, Secret Invasion is a prime example, whatever monthly titles he was writing at the time that interacted with that event would always suffer and get pushed aside, filled with side stories about what was happening with the event. Actually, Jeff Johns does this too. If you look at Blackest Night, he used the Green Lantern books to tell the story of what was happening to the various Ring Corps as the rest of the heroes fought for the Earth. In Justice League of America, we follow Stargirl and Martian Manhunter as they discover the nature of the Firestorm prison. And in Justice League, we find out what happened to Cyborg and follow him from his recovery to an eventual team up with the Metal Men where he takes down Grid. All things that we probably would have liked to have known about in Forever Evil, but we only ever see the end results of Cyborg versus Grid. It leaves you frustrated as it feels like you're only getting half the story. This is more or less Jeff Johns attempting to do a villain series, albeit one that teams up with Batman about halfway through. In fact, Batman's concern for Nightwing in the wake of their falling out during Death of the Family is admirable. Ultimately, though, he's a bit undone by his relationship with Catwoman. At best, it's confusing. Is she his partner, sidekick, or just the girl in a leather catsuit following him around? At worst, it's kind of pathetically enabling, as Selina just seems to be there to pat him on the back or break it to him gently that he's not the end-all of superhero vigilantes he thinks he is. The best relationship is the slowly growing bond between Luthor and Bizarro. While Lex initially doesn't see the clone as anything more than a weapon to point at the crime syndicate, he does slowly bond with it. The fact that he's grown close to a clone of his worst enemy is wonderfully ironic, and Lex gets perhaps his first ever "aww" moment when he decides to regrow Bizarro but keep him imperfect. Incidentally, since it'll take 5 years to grow a Bizarro clone, does that mean we'll be seeing the next Bizarro in Future's End at some point? The rest of the villains are written alright. Johns has history with Black Adam, the Rogues, and Sinestro, so there are no problems there. As for the crime syndicate, I enjoyed the sadistic, fun-loving relationship between Atomica and Johnny Quick. And the mentor-master relationship Deathstorm exerted over Powering was also played nicely, though the effects of Powering's ring on his body were never clearly explained. But whereas Johns has always excelled at lesser characters, his Ultraman and Owlman are poorly written. The Kryptonian comes across as more of a junkie than the power-hungry bully he's normally portrayed as. Owlman is a little too aloof and mysterious, so much that we never really get a look at his character other than he desperately wants to get Nightwing on his side. Superwoman was also written okay, kind of an alpha mother character, but I did enjoy the twist of Alexander Luthor being the father. In most Crime Syndicate stories, Alexander Luthor is the hero who opposes the Crime Syndicate, so a nice twist here is that their Lex is also a villain. As it turns out, our Lex is the hero. The ending is also pretty good. The introduction of the Anti-Monitor was a nice final reveal and sets up a future conflict with Darkseid. This leaves the Justice League in an interesting place going forward. Lex has now discovered the benefits of altruism, and both he and Captain Cold are going to be members of the Justice League. Can they stay good, or will they inevitably slide back into their evil ways? As for David Finch's art, overall it was pretty good. He has a nice sense of style and handles the action scenes well. Issue 7 felt rushed at some points. Some drawings just didn't have the level of detail that I saw in earlier issues, which is odd given the delay of the final issue. Although I do applaud DC for letting David Finch finish the book. I feel too often the big companies sacrifice consistent art for timely publishing, although there is also an argument to be made for getting books out when they're solicited.
Overall, I have to say that Forever Evil is a mixed bag at best. It's a confusing story unless you've been following and continue to follow the monthly Justice League titles. I give Forever Evil issues 1 through 7 3 out of 5 stars. It does have some enticing character moments that carry the story and has a lasting effect on the DC universe. Until next time, folks, this is Comic Book Issues, and I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek. Hey everyone, my Patreon page is now live. You can get everything from early access to my shows to your name in the credits to even having me review the Doctor Who episode or comic book of your choice. Check it out below. I'll just continue to point at my crotch until you're done.